Hi, friends. My name is Host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Famous People, a YouTube channel that's been ongoing for about 10 years of regular posting. A lot of live streams, videos about typology, videos about all kinds of things. But this video is about, hopefully, the final update in the Michelle Shocked copyright saga. So, for those who aren't aware, I received a copyright strike maybe 2 years ago or something, a year and a half ago, because I linked to her material on the Internet Archive, and I had to go to copyright school and etc. I assumed that was the end of it. I made a video afterwards saying like, "What a bee, why do you got to be so super harsh about it?" She could have gotten that thing taken down without giving me a copyright strike. I'm sure there are plenty of other options available to her. She did even ask me to take it down before copyright, before DMCA takedown and noticing me. Anyway, YouTube apparently agreed it was an example of secondary copyright infringement, which is something that's not illegal on the statutes, but is a legal argument that appellate courts have allowed to proceed forward in certain circumstances, not related to mine in any meaningful way. Anyway, I was, needless to say, surprised when took me to, she served me papers to sue me before the Copyright Board for $5,000 with an erroneous claim that my linking to her material was part of a scheme to generate business for my typology business, clients for my typology business, and that I knowingly and willfully did so for my own interests. Instead of what actually happened, which is I said, "Hey, I found this elusive stuff I haven't been able to find. You're looking for it. Here's where you can find it." I wouldn't think anything more than that. Anyway, so this lawsuit that she launched was launched, like I said, before the Copyright Board, which is a federal board that hears cases of, related to copyright infringement in which both parties agree to opt into that process. I was imagining I was going to opt into that process because I figured it limited my liability, total liability to $5,000. Additionally, uh, the resolution of it is binding, so she would. The reason it would limit my liability, she would, if I had it heard before the Copyright Board, she would not be able to thereafter sue me in federal court. By opting out of the Copyright Board process, she can now sue me in federal court if she wants to. But whether or not she will, I do not know. So, the additional information I wanted to include in this is as follows. Last night in the live stream, I talked about a lot of this stuff. In fact, I live streamed specifically to get myself to deal with this because I had been procrastinating on it, and I successfully did deal with it, opted out, ultimately decided to. Um, and in the live stream, Michelle Way researched her a little bit, Googled her history of copyright stuff, and she's got quite a history of litigating against individuals for copyright violations in spurious, questionable ways. So, yes, she's sued somebody on YouTube before for covering her songs and monetizing that cover. Now, she could, at least in the contemporary YouTube universe, simply seize all revenue the individual might generate from that cover. I don't know if that universe was in place when she sued this person. Regardless, to me, that seems not entirely unreasonable if she's saying to him, if you're going to cover my song, I'd like you to put it up like this or credit me in the following fashion and not monetize it, and the person's refusing to comply. And there's no YouTube mechanism to compel compliance without utilizing the courts, then it seems reasonable in that circumstance for her to sue somebody. But what I also read about is this history of her suing people on Amazon who are record resellers. And there's a clear exception in place in the law for if you're reselling used records, that doesn't count as a copyright infringement. That the producer, the original producer of the music, does not own any rights to that physical object that's being resold. She accused all these record stores on Amazon of copyright violations because they were reselling used copies of her CDs and stuff. And uh, because Amazon didn't have a very robust system in place to prevent abuse of copyright violations, all these stores ran into big red tape trouble with Amazon, much to their detriment, and potentially to Michelle Schock's benefit in the sense that she's trying to monopolize all access to any of her recordings so that only she can sell them herself for $250 a piece. Regardless, uh, now that I've opted out of that process, it may still be the case that she sues me in federal court. And if she does, I'm very confident that it won't get past an initial motion to dismiss because she doesn't meet the prima facie burdens she needs to establish in order to even have a chance at making a case on secondary copyright infringement, namely that I purposely, willfully did link to illegal material for the purpose of my personal gain. She can't establish either of those elements, so it wouldn't survive an initial motion to dismiss. Uh, and I wanted also, lastly, to basically say the main reason why I changed my mind about opting out versus opting in. Well, there were really two reasons, but the primary one is as I reread that document yesterday that I got served with, it indicated something that I hadn't picked up on before that any bad faith arguments have to be predicated on bad faith demonstrated during the process or during the proceedings, is what it says. I'm not, I'm pretty sure, in fact, that her behavior in filing the claim does not qualify as behavior during the proceedings, which means in the Copyright Board, you've got a situation where I can't go on offense at all. I can only play defense. It would be a forum in which she could win and I could not lose, but I could not win unless she demonstrated that bad faith during the proceedings, which she probably would, based on some of the stuff I read last night. She submitted this wild manifesto thing to the copyright rules, like some government copyright rules committee that was dealing with DMCA particulars, and it was wow. She says, "Well, because I'm a poet, I'm going to talk in metaphor." She does talk in metaphor the whole time, but she also just talks in platypussy. You know, she's attributing this grand you. She blames you, these government people who are behind this apparent, from her perspective, like assault on copyright holders or whatever. Uh, she says you've sold out the commons since Nixon, etc. And you know the idea that the same parties could be responsible for her purported oppression dating all the way back to Nixon. We're talking about a Digital Management Copyrights Act that nobody during the Nixon administration could possibly have foreseen is just wildly. It shows how unfortunate it is when you get somebody who's just NIFing and has no capacity to recognize that their own language is not communicating anything. You know, it's just communicating their unbridled rage and their lack of justification for that rage. So anyway, um, you know, I am mixed feelings about whether I want her to sue me in federal court or not. I would say I think it's unlikely. This was kind of a hopefully she could goad me into that form. If she couldn't, then she's gonna have to let go of it because it's gonna be too costly and involved to sue me in federal court. But if she does, well, then I can go on offense. I can countersue for a variety of things, and she'll get her full comeuppance. But I don't think she's going to do that ultimately. I think this is the end of it. So hopefully this is the last you'll hear about Michelle Schock, her copyright enforcement behaviors, which are not acceptable. It's not okay. It's fine for her to enforce her copyright, right? But her strategy of being as aggressive as possible as and being so incredibly spiteful towards me for, long after the fact, right? And it was because she didn't like the video in which I was talking about her and calling her out on her basically antisocial approach to copyright enforcement, not questioning the legality of her enforcing copyright, but saying, can't we be a little bit more civil about this? Well, she can't be, apparently. But anyway, that's it for this saga. And hopefully she, more people now understand what's like. There's no way, nobody should be supporting her in her crusade against random people like me, executed via lies and a claim made to a copyright board that provides her a form in which she can only win or not win, but never lose. So, to that. That's what I say to that.